what are some of the things that we should look for in ourselves, in our coworkers, and in our loved ones that create the most impact?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what stage you're at, but I mean, general categories, one of the biggest ones is going to be daily functioning, hygiene, issues with hygiene, trouble performing daily tasks or responsibilities around the house, with work.
I saw a study that said that persons with sleep disturbances and post-traumatic stress disorder actually have higher incidence of needing disciplinary action at work.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, which is interesting. That ability to connect action to consequence is a little bit impaired with PTSD stuff, and I start to be a little bit more irritable, and maybe I go off on my boss when I wouldn't normally have done that, but because I'm irritable and I've lost some sleep, that now I'm getting in disciplinary trouble somewhat, right?
It's almost like your brain's trying to funnel down priorities, right?
Yeah.
So in a normal person's brain, whatever that means, which who knows nowadays, in a normal person's brain, right, we're going to be able to prioritize things. But again, in survival mode, in survival brain, things become less and less important, right? Like connecting consequence and action. That we're going to kind of lose sight of that if we're in that survival mode.
Yep.
Yeah.
We also got on here, what do we got? Health problems.
Yep.
Oh yeah, heart issues. Gut's a big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
There have been many studies showing
Lots
the
of
vast
data.
impact of PTSD on your health.
Yeah.
Yeah, heart issues, gut issues, fatigue, chronic pain.
It's really because your freaking gut is inflamed because you're so stressed out all the time that your chemicals are out of whack, right?
Yep.
You have IBS, you can't sleep at night. Really, this is your body trying to scream at you, hey man, deal with the stuff that's coming up over and over and over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and to get a little bit nerdy here, the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs from our brainstem all the way down into our gut. It's kind of the part that deals with fight or flight. And so if our fight or flight through PTSD is out of whack, all the gut issues are going to come up.
Show up.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually the most common physiological issue that we see is gut health issues, which directly then affects cardiac issues, and which is the the number one killer of human beings in general, first responders, veterans especially, right? Like their incidence of heart disease is higher than the general population. Life expectancy is shorter, especially when trauma goes untreated. That's going to really affect the heart, the gut.
Yeah,
and
it's all related, right?
Yeah. Fortunately and unfortunately, it is all connected, right?
It is, and that's one thing that we kind of have to accept is that it is all connected, right? I think we as a culture try and parse everything out and put them in these nice, neat little categories, but at the end of the day, we're all one system, right? Brain and body.
It's all trying to work as cohesively as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. Other stuff that...
Other areas, we got emotional well-being. So I like to think of this as when emotions become toxic. The two biggest answers, or the two biggest examples, toxic shame, toxic anger, right? I think to some degree we all need shame, especially as a culture, to motivate us. But when it becomes toxic, when it becomes this cyclical nature, constant berating ourselves, it's going to cause some really negative emotional impacts.
It's that negative self-talk that is overwhelming to the point of I stub my toe and the first thing I say to myself is, God, you're such a freaking idiot. What's wrong with you? When you're stubbing your toe,
you're just stubbing your toe.
That's a freaking normal thing. But if that's my constant inner dialogue or monologue with myself, dialogue, I'm going to have, that's going to affect my brain and body.
Yeah. And I even, just take a moment to pause, especially listeners. Notice what's coming up for you even right now, because I imagine many of you, and I see this almost with every client struggles with shame. So I imagine if a listener is struggling with PTSD, shame's going to be coming up right now. Oh man, all this shit's wrong with me. Just take a moment, take a nice deep breath. There's hope, right? And this is one of the biggest ways that it impacts you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And recognize as you take that pause, I love that this is your brain and body trying to help you.
Yeah.
Trying to clue you into stuff. And the longer you ignore it, the more difficult it's going to be to cure it over time.
Yeah.
How about family stuff, relationships? How does PTSD affect relationships?
Does it?
Apparently.
I think it does.
Maybe, a lot.
Well, again, let's go back to that toxic shame and anger, right?
Right.
If anger is an issue, is that going to bleed out into your family? Of course it is, right? Angry outbursts, going back to your example earlier, not even knowing what you just did and then all that weight of shame, right? The anger is going to impact them, right? Missing out on responsibilities in the family is going to impact your family. Lack of intimacy, right? When someone's struggling, if there's a lot of anger and shame and negative emotions going on, your partner might not want to be intimate, right? Sexual issues, trust issues, bad communication. All these things are ways in which PTSD can really impact you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. How about at work? Yeah.
Trouble concentrating.
Yeah, that memory stuff. You start to see real gaps in memory where I used to be able to remember this, and now it's like really hard for me to even. I'm writing everything down, and if I don't write it down, I forget it. Yeah, yeah, that's a big one.
Forgetting things, reduce productivity. Not that productivity is the ultimate end goal, but at the same time, we're performing a job, right? And we struggle to perform, right, because of all the stuff that's going on in our heads. Absenteeism, right? Not showing up. If you have a drinking issue or substance use issue, a lot of times that can also impact work, showing up late or having to call out quite a bit, and that takes a toll, right? You think you can manage it, and sure, you can for a little bit, and then guess what? The rooster comes home, right?